Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of Just for Fun Reviews. I'm your host Azzy, and with me as always is my boy Roy, and today we're going to be talking about the 8th episode of The Last of Us, When We Are in Need. As per usual, we're going to be talking non-spoilers at the front, and we will notify you when you need to get the hell out if you still haven't seen the episode. So this is the penultimate episode of the season. Only got one episode left after this, and we all knew what was coming. Those of us that played the game anyway, because this episode covers one of the pinnacle moments in the first game in and of itself. And the first thing that struck me when I was watching this was I remember killing a whole lot more people in the game, and part of me is wondering is that what some people who played the game are going to be upset about, that there wasn't more violence? I get the feeling there's one little nitpick that you're going to be upset about.
What's that?
You said in the last episode. You said in the last episode you wanted a particular thing to happen at the very beginning.
You didn't do the rabbit scene. You know what? I'm knocking 2 points off this review because you didn't do the rabbit scene. Y'all screwed us up.
There was a rabbit, though.
There was a rabbit. There was a rabbit. Then somehow it disappeared. It disappeared. It didn't magically became a deer.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it paid homage. I had actually like the way they connected it back to what happened 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
I forgot whether or not that was something. It was an element from the game. I actually forgot a lot of like some of the elements that were from the game.
Yeah.
Like I like one of the big twists to this episode that brought in like the greater sense of danger. I couldn't remember if that was the same way that they had actually introduced it into the game, but we didn't have a lot of time. Part of me couldn't help but like check the run times, like how much more time we got. Okay, all right. But otherwise, nerve-wracking episode, like just tension oozing throughout this entire damn thing. I thoroughly enjoyed it, of course. Like so far they have not had a bad episode yet. But I think this entire episode lives and dies on the emotion that could be conveyed by Bella Ramsey. He did such an amazing fucking job that by the end, like, I'm thinking that she is absolutely broken. But what did you think about the episode? How did you feel like because as per normal, you remember the game a whole lot better than I do. How do you feel like it played up what it could do in the time that was given?
Azzy, let me tell you something. This episode,
I love how you come into. I love how when I segue over to you, you come into this like you're like you're like pulling some Muscle Man Randy Savage energy.
let me tell you something, brother.
Brother.
It like for me, like, you know, me playing the game, and because like when you play, like as many times as I played the game, I kind of like I know the beginning down to a T. I know how those things, but it comes down to later in the game where I kind of forget certain things. So me seeing certain events play out in the show that triggered me to remember, oh damn, that happened in the game. That's how it gets all connected. And I totally forgot when they had that conversation. It's like, yeah, apparently this guy that killed one of our group members had a little girl with him. I was like, yep, you know, they did have that in the game, and I totally forgot about it. And you know,
yeah, no, I liked how they connected it all back, improve the value of everything, like essentially clearing the plate,
yeah,
leaving no loose ends or unnecessary action or unnecessary or useless characters.
But yeah, I think
love it.
Yeah, Bella did a good job on this episode, you know. But like am I disappointed that it's like, well, you know, they kind of scratched out the scene where Ellie and David teamed up to fight like fucking the infected, which we didn't have there. They had they had a whole town full of people, but like when Joe's
well, we're getting in a little bit into spoiler territory, but there is an element of suspension of disbelief that needs to be had towards the end, because the one crucial thing that I remember from this particular scene in the game was moving around as Joel in what was effectively a blizzard that acted as your cover as you tried to get closer to the resort, following Ellie's trail. So all of that had to be cut. We didn't get to spend a lot of time with Joel, though Joel did get to have one like really great scene in and of himself prior to like the very end.
Which I was like, they have to nail that scene. And I mean, they did, but I mean, I wish it was a little bit more dark and gruesome like how it was in the game, but it was pretty goddamn close.
I saw some people who were trying to I saw some people on the internet who were trying to sparse whether or not David was more evil in the show than he was in the game. How did you feel about that?
I don't know, man. Because one, like I said, he doesn't look like how David looks in the game. So that's where I'm like, I didn't know where they were gonna go with that. But as far as what he was saying, like there's a lot more dialogue he says in the show than he does in the game. I feel like
we didn't have a lot.
He gave
this whole sequence was a bit more rushed.
Yeah, I feel like he had the kind of essence of the governor from The Walking Dead a little bit, where he's like he plays off like a nice guy, but he's really evil. And that's when Bella started to figure stuff out. Like, okay, when they first met each other, like she was already on guard. She's not playing around. And then he's trying to feed all this information into her head, like, hey, we can give you medicine if you trade us this for that and all this kind of stuff. And then when certain things play out and he fucking shows his true colors, which got kind of really creepy near the end of the episode. But
just towards the end, I'm like there was a certain a particular turn with David towards the very end of the episode where I was like, was that in the game? I feel like I would have remembered that in the game. But yeah, no, and please forgive me. Little preface, because we're talking about a lot of elements and we're trying to keep it non-spoiler, but we kind of need some sort of setup. Ellie is essentially trying to take care of Joel while he's recovering. Goes off hunting to try and find some food, and when she does shoot down a deer, she encounters two men from a nearby settlement. One of which is the smooth talking David, who is very much a very iconic villain from the game. One of the few actual boss fights from the game, anyway. But yeah, I would still say that like as far as like there's something lost in an adaptation, especially when as always it's that time honored like pitfall when it comes to video game adaptations, where we get so much more information and nuance in the game because we have a lot more time with it than we can get in a show in certain respects. So it did feel like this episode was rushing through the material, because there was a lot of quieter moments, a lot of stealth moments in the game, a lot more violence in the game, obviously, because it's still a game and it has to engage the player, so there's more activity in that respect. I think it's the right move to shave as much of that down as possible, because then we're just going to have, like, you would have had a 2-parter episode essentially, and it would have leveraged more of the focus back on Joel when this episode was meant to be focused on Ellie. So
it's supposed to be about Ellie. You're talking about things that it was rushed. Yeah, maybe it was rushed to get through this part of the storyline, but they hit all the key points within the game. Yeah, you didn't have the scene where Joel.
Oh, the key points. Yeah, all the key points. Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. But you had brought it up yourself. There were entire sequences that were cut from this section. From this section of the story.
They made up with it with decisions to bring in new characters, that we didn't see within, the game with Troy Baker's character. So
he was apparently very excited for this particular part. Oh, what was it? There was the option for a less gruesome end for his extra of a character, and he was like, no, this is perfectly fine. But anyway, I want to jump into the spoilers as quickly as possible. So I would say that this episode gets a 9, because I can't help but wanting to have more from this. But I understand it's better for the overarching season and the narrative that they had to trim a lot of the fat away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going 9 as well.
Okay, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, please, by all means, get the hell out, come back, hear what the hell we're thinking about right now. Our train of consciousness goes on. This has been your spoiler warning. So yeah, did David try to rape her in the game?
I don't recall that at all.
The building's burning down, David, and that's where you're thinking? That's where your mind goes? But yeah, no. I do feel like I remember Ellie playing the mind game by yelling that she's infected on the table when they're getting ready to try and butcher her. And which made me wonder, I kind of want to go back and watch the scene from the game. I didn't do that. To see if Troy Baker's character was there, as this
nameless
dude holding down Ellie. He just filled in as an extra.
I don't, like I said, I don't remember it, because like I said, early game can remember everything. Late game, I remember David. I remember
I can remember this whole sequence fighting David because I had difficulties. I was part of me was like, let there be some broken glass that she steps on, and then she has to run away and hide. Give me that, because that was the issue. The David fight was the stealth fight. You were playing as Ellie. You didn't really have anything. You had a single knife, and you had to essentially sneak up on David and tag him 2 or 3 times, and that was the whole sequence. But progressively, the restaurant was burning down, and David would eliminate or David would help complicate the arena to make it easier for him to try and find you. He would scatter more broken glass that if you stepped on would create sound. He'd find you that way. Yeah, I got fucked up by that whole encounter several times before I got it. So it's I was waiting for the broken glass. I was hoping for a couple hits before it was done.
Yeah,
I know they can't do that.
No, but the whole scene with Joel interrogating the 2 guys, yeah, I was like, you gotta have that scene in the show, man, because that was such an iconic. He's over there slapping the crap out of him, and he's like, fucking stabs the knife in his knee, and he's like, pay attention, I'm gonna pull your damn kneecap off. I was like, oh yes, and then he just straight up killed him, and I was like, oh. He's like, what do you
mean? I'm not gonna tell you nothing.
He's like, I already know. I believe him.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
But what I don't know what you're about to say,
go ahead.
But I'm gonna let you know. What was making me quite a bit nervous about this episode, where I felt like they were gonna divert from the game, is them being cannibals. Which I was kind of nervous at first, because I was like, wait a minute.
You were nervous that they weren't going to be cannibals?
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I was like, there was
oh, yeah.
Because at the beginning, it didn't seem like they were going to mention that. And then when they cut to the scene where they were cooking food, and the dude comes in with that tray full of meat, and he's like, "It's venison." I was like,
yeah,
I was like, no, that's
man
not.
looks like Edgar. Man looks like Edgar in an Edgar suit, okay, or a roach in an Edgar suit. And it's like, it's venison. It's like, no, it ain't.
Yeah. So when Joel, when he sneaks into the resort and he goes to that one room and he sees the dead bodies hanging up, I was like, oh man, that is gruesome.
Yeah. And I thought that they were, I thought they, like, for those of us that were in the know, that knew that was going to be coming, I thought that they laid the groundwork pretty well, because like they were holding a funeral for the guy that Joel had killed. Granted, we didn't realize, neither one of us realized that that was the guy until it was confirmed by David later, which we both obviously loved. But then it's like, when can we bury him? And there's like that pause. Are the ground's too cold? It's like right there. Yep. Turn him into stew.
Mm.
And the way, and not to mention, like, it's I actually thought that it was really great subtlety that they were doing until the eventual reveal with the ear, because the way that they were hounding into the fucking food, man. Like, they're that desperate, yeah. Like, the breadcrumbs are there.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole town thing near the end where like nobody's there, that was the only thing I kind of disbelieved.
Yeah, it's that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. It's like you have to suspend your disbelief towards the end, because like the building's burning. There were only Ellie had taken out the like Troy Baker's character and then dealt with David and then came out of the building. But like the notion that in broad daylight a building is freaking burning and no one notices, no one shows up. Then you also have to think, like, did Joel kill anybody up until that point? Did he just sneak into the town? Because like I said, one of the scenarios I was missing was Joel sneaking through the town during a blizzard. I think the entire time, like, that Ellie was in the restaurant and it was on fire was during that blizzard, which gave them cover. So having it in like broad daylight, it is a little weird. But great emotional payoff right at the very end, which had to be. I did not realize this myself. It was pointed out in the inside the episode afterwards. It's the first moment that in like 20 years that Joel refers to somebody as baby girl.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "I got you, baby girl." I was like, "Oh, that's your girl now."
But yeah, God, man. Because I was so down on this episode when I first started watching. I was like, one, I was having internet problems, so it would play like, cut off. But yeah, it was like, okay, man,
the rabbit's still alive.
Yeah, besides that, making me very mad. Unless they're gonna pay it off in the next episode, which I highly doubt, because I felt like more time is gonna go by. But yeah, this episode, I was like, it was taking a little bit while for Ellie to get captured and things to play out.
Yeah. But like I was saying before, like the constraints that are applied when it comes to a video game adaptation, they have to live within them. Things that be sheared away, other things that to be done differently. Definitely the action has to be toned down some. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm hopeful. I'm always hopeful, but I'm worried about the notion of the God of War adaptation that's being done by Amazon, because God of War has so much action baked into, and it's an adaptation of 2018's God of War. So yeah, there's that greater focus on story that we got with that game, but it's like 50-50 story and action, and the amount of money that they'd have to spend on the special effects necessary to do, like, granted, you do have some enemies that look like people, but then you have like the the vast majority of enemies that you're going to be dealing with are going to require a CGI budget or a lot of prosthetics. So how they're going to handle that, I don't know. But at the very least, in The Last of Us, you can keep that violence level to
Which
like on the back burner and use it when it is necessary and has the most emotional and psychological impact in the show.
Which I find funny because like I started thinking about it because I was kind of disappointed it didn't have the moment with Ellie and David taking on the infected. They haven't really shown that much infected in the actual series itself. They were in technically episode 1. Trying to remember. Yeah, I think was it episode 2 where they Tess was killed by the infected and killed herself. And then it was episode 5.
3 had the one in the basement. Episode 3 had the one in the basement.
I'm talking like a vast majority. I'm not just talking about like one single. But yeah, it's been like 3 episodes. You only have 3 episodes with the infected.
But think about it. The only zombie media that's come out within the last 10 years where like hordes of zombies was the primary focus was DayZ. Most of the time when you have these stories, like it's the human element that's always the primary factor. The zombies are secondary. I mean, shit. When was Dawn of the Dead? When Dawn of the Dead came out, the remake, the one
that had been like 2003 or 2004.
Yeah, so it's been more than 10 years since we had a lot of zombie movies or shows that were primarily focused on dealing with the zombies.
These aren't zombies.
Yeah. Fung zombies?
They're infected.
Cordyceps.
Wow. Cordyceps are just like us. They want to survive through violence. When that's disrupted, I don't know, whatever the hell he said.
Whatever bullshit. No. And I do remember the scene from the game where she breaks his finger and then tries to go for the keys and then only gives her name after she did that. It's like, Ellie, can you tell everybody the name of the girl who broke your fucking finger? It's like, perfect. That's Lady Mormont coming out right there.
You know what? Why you say that, man? Because now I feel like when she was beating the out of David, that's for killing me off in Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah. Everybody else can survive like being buried underneath fucking zombies and White Walkers, and she has to die almost instantaneously. She didn't have that plot armor, man. What can I tell you? But nonetheless, I freaking loved it. I can't wait for the season finale. Like, part of me hopes that the season finale is like going to be a little extra long.
I hope. Well,
like, give me a little bit of that.
Well, they had a little snippet with so hopefully maybe not 100% sure who it is, but Ashley Johnson.
We still haven't seen this scene with Ash.
Yeah.
Did we?
Well, you see it in the preview for the next episode.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that might be the opening, or maybe it might be a little bit further into the episode.
Flashback.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's a Marlene kind of flashback for her. Like, because I'm pretty sure in the game she knew her mother or something like that. I can't remember. There was another comic something that I never read from that series, but whatever. We already know what's going down. I'm about to be popcorn ready. Let's go. And I they better have like some Daredevil hallway moments. Like Joe just
all one shot.
Yeah. And if they do, I'll
maybe I don't know. That'd be cool.
Or maybe it might be just like a one shot action scene to get to the very end.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Anyway, that's gonna be it for us. You'll probably see us next week. Drop a comment down below what you thought of the episode. If you saw it, hit the like, the whole thing, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.
I ain't got nothing but deuces.